Welcome, data people. We are Zuma. My name is Matt, and this is the Data for Good podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Zuma. Zuma is a dedicated recruitment company focusing on data positions across Berlin. The Data for Good podcast is for the world of data science, analytics, and engineering, giving you a platform to hear the thoughts and opinions of data leaders from Berlin and beyond. Today, we are joined by Dani Solà, Senior VP of Data and Analytics at Clark Insurance. Dani, welcome. How are you?
Thanks, Matt. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. I think the first question, for those who don't know, a Senior VP, what is that and how does that relate to data in particular?
I think the data industry still is not very clear on roles and responsibilities in general. Like things are called differently in different companies and industries. But in short, it's like head of data, the person who's finally responsible for the analytics things in a company. So in some companies, you might have a chief data analytics officer. In some companies, you have a head of data. Sometimes you have a VP, SVP, depends on the size, the industry, and so many different things, even geography sometimes.
So if someone was to assume that a SVP of data is very similar to a head of data, they wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about a journey that you've been on, so kind of bootstrapping a data function. So before we go into that, maybe tell us a little bit about Clark Insurance and how they use data in particular within the insurance industry.
Sounds good. So Clark is an insurance broker. So for those who don't know, like we have the insurance companies who are the ones that insure the risk. So say you have a car insurance and you want to make sure that if anything happens, you're covered. And then you have the brokers, and brokers are on the side of the customer. So the thing is, there's many different insurance companies, many different insurance products, and it's not always easy to understand what's best for you because there's jargon, because there's complexity, and sometimes these products are quite expensive. So the broker is like the intermediary.
Yeah. And
the broker, you want a broker that is in your side, because sometimes you have brokers that are captive brokers, as they're called, which basically means that they just sell insurance products for one insurer. Right. In our case, we sell insurance products for many insurers, and we try to get the best product and the best price for our customers.
Nice. So where does the data focus come in here?
So I'd say in the insurance industry, the insurance companies focus a lot on the risks. So, depending on your age or demographics, and it's all about making sure that they can insure people without taking unnecessary risks, right? You don't want to insure a bunch of people that then start having or behaving irresponsibly and then having a lot of claims and whatnot. So in the insurance industry, when people think about insurance, they think a lot about risk pricing or insurance pricing.
Yeah.
On our side, because we're the broker, what we're trying to do is really understand very well our customers so that we can recommend them the best products. So it's less on the insurance side and more on the customer side. And in that sense, it's not that different from any other marketplace. You could think Netflix if you're thinking about movies, or you can think about Amazon if you're thinking about goods that you can buy online. So in the end is knowing very well your customer and recommending products that they might get value from at the right price point.
Nice. So with that background into what Clark are kind of looking to achieve and their business model, you came in to build out a data function and you effectively bootstrapped the whole process. Where did you start?
Yeah. I must say, I didn't start it from zero. We had a couple of really good folks working at Clark for a few years. But I think that in 2021, there was like a much bigger focus on making data work, right? Because as a company that hadn't invested as much as we should have, or depending, we're growing very fast, right? So you need to adapt this and focus on the top priorities. But really, the first thing one has to do when joins any company, any function, is really understanding the lay of the land, understanding what are the problems, understanding what works, what doesn't, and also building relationships, right? To make sure that you're not the outsider that comes in and tries to change stuff that already works, or that never helps when you're trying to change things. So for us, when I came in, it was very clear to me is that our infrastructure was not scaling with us anymore. We had put together some BI tools, some databases, some reporting, and some processes and tooling, but sometimes dashboards could have taken like a minute to load, and that's never good if you want to encourage self-service curiosity. That definitely was not good. We also could not work with the whole data volumes that we have. We constantly were just looking at the last 3-6 months to see, understand customer behavior and whatnot. So that was not good. So clearly, one of the things that we had to focus a lot in the first 6 months was rebuilding our data platform. Setting up a cloud data warehouse, setting up the tooling that would allow us to build on top of that and reuse components and build data sets that are not just for one specific report or one specific analysis, but things that you can build over time, maintain over time, and not have to start everything from scratch.
Yeah.
So yeah, for us, that was a lot of the work that we had to do in the beginning. And I say had because, in many cases, there was not a lot of added value. You cannot just say, you have the same thing as before, now it's faster. It's like, yeah, fine. But, that's, that just gets you long, so, that long. So in parallel, we're trying to understand where we can provide more value with data in the company. Yeah. In our case, one of the, once we sorted the infrastructure piece, one of the big shortcomings that we have was that we had recently started using a CRM, a cloud CRM tool. Like in the past, we had an in-house CRM, and over time, and by the time I joined, everyone was using the cloud CRM already.
Yeah.
But the problem was that we didn't have that data from the cloud CRM. So we're doing sales, we're doing a lot of interactions with our customers in the CRM tool, but we didn't have that visibility. So in one hand, we had all the visibility that we wanted on how users use our application and how they interact with it, what products they buy or they're interested in, or they are not. But we could not see a very important part, which is, when you have to buy a product, what's happening? How long does it take? Do we have better journeys than others? Maybe even also like a agent level reporting. Do we have agents that are better at some products or better at selling to some demographics than others? So that very quickly became the top priority for us, because we had a lot of questions that we could not answer without that data. So what we did was bring in a tool that actually allows us to bring the data from standard SaaS tools like any marketing tool, any CRM tool that's out there. Instead of actually getting a data engineer or a software engineer integrate with their APIs, bring the data in and whatnot, which is a lot of work. And I've done this in the past. It's for engineers, it's fun while they build it, but then they need to keep it up, making it, those APIs change all the time. They go down, there's problems with security, whatever. So for sure, we decided to bring a tool to help us with that. And then basically it was all about putting all the data in the Clark world in one central piece, right? And one central data warehouse. And then you can start joining it together and see the full picture end to end from, someone who installs the app on day one, what happens in day 90, everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's actually been a lot of what we've been doing since, because there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of value on understanding what's happening. There's a lot of value in having the granular data so that you can bring more insights, also more details. I mean, in the beginning, you just look at the big numbers. Okay, what's the revenues like for the months? And then once you have all the data in one place, say, actually, we can look into cohorts. We can look into different demographics. We can look into different products. There's so many questions, so many ways that you can slice the data once you have it all in one place.
Yeah.
That, in a sense, it's a lot of what we've been doing, helping the company evolve. I mean, we've been, of course, changing a lot. It's not that we implementing all our data structure and process and everything, it just works. The fact is that everything changes all the time, right? And there's new experiments, there's new things that we do on marketing, on sales, on product, on operations, and all the teams. And we want to be able to help those teams optimize for their work and making sure that what they do change delivers value.
Yeah. So alongside laying the foundations of a scalable data platform, you're spinning other plates of creating immediate value at the same time.
Exactly.
What would you advise someone else going through that? What would you wish you knew that you know now?
I mean, I think it's like what I always try to do is have the end in mind, right? Like, what are we going? In our case, was clearly, we need modern data stack, we need a cloud data warehouse, we need modern tooling so that we can work scalably. But at the same time, we need to focus a lot on short-term delivery. You cannot just say, give me 6 months or give me a quarter and then I'll start delivering stuff. First, because you're losing your stakeholders there. And also because you might be building the wrong thing. You need constant feedback, you need constant validation that you're working on the right thing. So yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done, but having a picture of what you want to go and then prioritize very heavily towards the biggest pain points and the biggest value delivery, right? And the good thing is that if you come into a company that it's has a lot of shortcomings in these areas, you can deliver value very quick. So that's nice. Just by bringing the data in and saying, actually, you have visibility now, go play with that data. I mean, it's not sophisticated, it's not that difficult, and brings a lot of value. Going from pitch black, I don't see anything, to actually there's a bit of light, I can start seeing things and I can understand how the business works. It's transformative. But then, of course, over time, you need to keep refining, see where there's value, see on where operating in a way that is not optimal, and helping building those relationships with these different teams so that they can get more value out of that data.
How did you find the adoption of these processes from the non-data people, from the business folks?
I mean, it's always that's a big factor, actually, now that you mention it. I mean, for sure, you need to focus on the highest value or highest pain point that you have. But if you're trying to help a team or a department and they're not interested, right? It's not worth it. Maybe just go to the second one in the list if you have a stakeholder or a team that is super engaged, and then make it a success story. And then over time, maybe other teams will be wanting to join and get your support and work together, right? So In our case, because we didn't have this visibility in the sales area, the sales department in general has been huge. Not sure if I lie, but like, we work very well together. We have regular meetings. We know exactly what they're trying to do. They know exactly what we're trying to do. We discuss solutions, we discuss problems, and it's really important to have this level of trust and collaboration across departments. Otherwise, if you're building stuff for people who don't want to see it, it's there's no value in that, and it's pretty demoralizing also for the people doing that. So for sure. But I mean, I think if you get this momentum of okay, I'm fixing things and improving things, and I'm actually delivering quite fast, people see that, and then they do want to get on board and actually get more support. And it's very interesting because you can see how the questions and how what we're trying to do gets more sophisticated and more advanced over time. So once you see that, it's like you can see you're going in the right direction for sure.
So education, does that come first? Where would you put that?
I mean, for sure, we have quarterly sessions where we teach people how to use the BI tooling, where we teach people our data set. We also have sessions for new joiners. But really, to kickstart things, when you have, but this is when you have, a lot to offer, and it's kind of standardized. But to bootstrap things, I'd say that it's more important to focus on one department, one use case, the one that provides more value. And as you work together with that team or department, then you're teaching each other. You're learning about their area, how they work, and they learn about, oh wow, so I can use these tools or these charts to understand how to analyze it, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it's been a lot on small groups, one-to-one. Okay, let's focus this quarter on this project for sales, this project for marketing, this project for product. And then while you work together, people learn how to use the tools to understand the data that you're working with them, that you're providing to them. That said, one thing that is actually quite successful is what we call genius bars.
Genius bars.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the Apple Genius Bar.
Yeah.
So twice a week we have 1 hour slot where we have someone from the team, and then anyone can just pop in and ask questions. And it could be anything from, I want to change this metric because, for some details, or it could be, I had an idea, I don't know where to start. What do you think about it, right? So it's open door sessions. Anyone from across the company can come in. Any questions from data sets, new initiatives, how to use the BI tool, question anything. And it's on purpose very open so that people can come in with their questions. And that's been very good for one, teaching, because we have, as I said, like quarterly sessions where we explain generic things. But when people do really pay attention is when they have a problem that they need solving, right? And then it's like, okay, let's discuss your problem and I'll show you how to do it yourself. And that's when the most effective learning and leveling up happens in the company.
How about the other way? How often do the data folks approach business people and say, I don't get it?
Right. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to work together very closely with the key departments that we focus on. And usually for analysts, we have like quarterly initiatives or areas of focus. And for sure, it's very important, right? If we have an environment where, one department throws Jira tickets over the fence and then the other department throws dashboards over the other, to the other side, it just does not work, right? So we try to have regular check-ins, collaboration, and finding the people who are going to be working on that project. So thankfully, I mean, it happens quite often. And I'd say for marketing, sales, and product, we have very good working relationship. We understand what they're doing, we understand their data, and they understand what they can get out of data in our tooling and services.
Yeah.
But the Genius Bar is a great outlet for anyone, completely, like anyone. It could be customer success person, it could be operations person, and it could be anyone joining in and asking questions about what they're trying to do. And it's very helpful to hear how they're trying to use data, because you build data sets and dashboards and whatnot for one purpose, and then you realize it's being used for something completely different, which is quite enlightening too.
It's amazing how certain tools are not used how they're initially purposed for. Doesn't mean it's not valuable, but not what we thought of initially.
Yeah, and every now and then we have these surprises of actually we build this thing for product and we see a lot of usage in the operations team, and then you dig in a little bit and then you realize they can be using it, but you could automate or simplify or improve the thing a lot for them. And it's actually quite fun when this happens. It's like, oh, you just save us X amount of hours a week, and it's really nice. And one other thing that we do a lot is in our BI tool we have analytics of how people use our dashboards and data sets and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we monitor this to see actually there's a lot of marketing folks looking at this thing, and maybe it's interesting if we can help a bit more, or maybe the opposite, right? Maybe we build something that is not being used, and then you can dig in on why it's not as successful as we thought it would be.
With the Genius Bar, so one difficult thing we all know is putting these teams together, and one thing is onboarding. Have you seen a positive impact of something like the Genius Bar on onboarding new staff, whether data professionals or not?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it helps both ways. For new data team members joining the Genius Bar, it's a very good way for them to understand how different departments work with the data, right? And they also learn how to use the data, because if there's, say, someone senior in the Genius Bar helping someone, they can just tag along, listen, understand, okay, that's how we help the marketing team know, I don't know, whatever, cohorted, channel, volume, whatever. So it helps a lot for new joiners in the data team. But yeah, also for new joiners in across the company, like we have a dedicated Slack channel for quick questions. We have the Genius Bar, and we just direct people there. You don't need to know how to open Jira tickets or how to who to approach. You just go there, ask, and we'll point you to the right direction. And that's quite simple and very very useful for them. That's a feedback we get. Every week as I said, we have 2 sessions, 1 hour, and most weeks we have people in both sessions. So, and when we see also is that when people come from other companies and different backgrounds and expectations, they join quite a bit more, until they understand how they can do things here, and they understand how the data works. But also we learn from them sometimes. Sometimes someone from finance might come in and say, in my previous company we had this way of looking at things financially, and we don't have anything similar. And then you can take it as an idea on how to improve things in the company that you work for. Yeah,
so it sounds like don't separate the teams, bring them as close together.
I think it's very important to create these outlets and these rituals to to communicate. I mean, the truth is most data teams are enablers for other departments.
Yeah.
And you need to make that collaboration as seamless as possible and as frequent as possible. So yeah, Genius Bar is more for impromptu things that people want to know or want to do.
Yeah.
But it does help a lot bring the business and data team closer.
Have you had anyone make the switch either way?
Not at Clark yet, but in previous companies, definitely we had people from insurance background joining data teams. Yeah, like pricing folks also joining the data team.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the nice things of being a central data team is that you have a very like privileged view of the whole company data set, right? If you're just, for example, working in marketing, you know, it's interesting. I mean, at least that's my perspective, but you know, it might become a bit boring if you're just looking at one kind of data all the time, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in a more central team, and then you can have, okay, this quarter we need to focus on sales, this quarter on more product, this quarter on I don't know, finance. Sometimes, you know, it's finance reporting and whatever. Like it just brings a more holistic view of the whole company rather than just one department. So yeah, I've seen people coming from other departments in the data team, the other way around, not so much.
It's something we see more and more. Access to entry within data, the tools becoming more and more accessible. We're seeing more switches, so who knows, for sure. And
yeah, and I think there's more and more emphasis on using data in each department. So it goes both ways. Like tools are getting better, but also the expectations for people in every department are getting higher. So I think it's, you know, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes those folks bring very good perspective, a bit more commercial or a bit more, you know, operational, and you know, all this stuff. It's super valuable as compared to someone who's just starting. You know, I know how to do data, but I don't know how anything works, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, especially for key departments, it's in a company, it's great if you can get some people from there, either in your team or collaborating very closely, because then you can make sure you're supporting those departments much better.
Yeah, no, it's much more holistic view. You've made it sound quite straightforward, putting these processes and methods into place, but there's going to be some challenges. Tell us about some of those.
Right. I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy, right? You know, as you join a company, you don't know what you don't know, and also everything changes all the time, especially on startups or growing companies.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's important to keep that in mind and keep prioritizing projects at least on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis. But for me, it's always been having this long-term view of where you're going. Make sure that you're not just building, you know, a Frankenstein kind of platform and reporting solution. You know, you just have a very strong view of what good looks like and what you're going to, and then just adapt along the way, making sure that the team is close as possible to the business. And you know, I think that's actually something very important. You know, not having barriers between the data people that are working on the data sets and whatnot and the business.
Yeah.
You know, the more you have intermediaries or managers or whatever it might be, the more diluted gets the understanding of what needs to be done and why. So trying to really make sure that the data folks work with the business people, it's super important to make sure we are delivering the value that it's asked for.
close collaboration, communication. Yeah, we hear these over and over again.
I mean, it's cliche, but it's most of the time it's about people. For sure, you need to have the right infrastructure, the right this and that, and the tools. But that's it's easy getting easier, and it's table stakes these days. What's going to make a difference is whatever you're building being used or not, and that will only happen if you have close collaboration with the people who are going to be using whatever you're building.
Efficiency.
I mean, I think it's, in a sense, it's just like having the product mindset and just applying it. Who are we building this for? What do success metrics look like? And I think it's also more interesting for folks in the data team. Having those collaborations and understanding how people are using whatever you're building, it makes it so much more fulfilling, right? It's not just build yet another integration or another data set or another dashboard, and I don't know if they're using it or not. So
nice.
I think you're completely right. Relationship building and those people connections is a great part of what makes a successful data team.
Awesome. We're hitting towards the end of the time. Unfortunately, we could probably carry on for a lot longer. I know that you value the little wins along a challenging journey. So, on reflection, are there any kind of key milestones that you've hit along the way that you think back on most positively?
I mean, I kind of hinted at them, but the first one was actually moving away from our old platform to the new one, which for sure brought new, better performance and everything was running faster and better. But for us, it unlocked everything else. We could not have built a team and a data function on top of the old infrastructure. So that for me was a very big milestone, even though business-wise, we just made things a little faster in the beginning. The second milestone for me was when we brought in the data from the CRM tool, and actually we started having this end-to-end visibility on our customers and our operations. That was a very big milestone, and thanks to this SaaS tool, it was not that of a big project. We made it in weeks, not months. So it was really good. And also that showed the business that we could do things pretty quickly, because with the old infrastructure and everything, everything needed to be planned quarters in advance and, ask for permission to engineers or whatever. And now we're in a much, iterative and faster way of development that people didn't know about. They had a lot of preconceptions of, okay, data at Clark is slow, or or it's not that good, or and we were changing all this stuff as we were changing our infrastructure too. And the last milestone, I would say, our first machine learning project. So once we started having more maturity with our data sets and our tooling and whatnot, we started, and thanks to this close collaboration with the sales team, we built a lead scoring machine learning project to make sure we are reaching out to customers who really are wanting to buy. And that was also a big milestone, because to have that, it means that you have a good data, you have a good processes, you have good infrastructure, a good team. And it's just a validation of all the other stuff that we built so far. We have much better maturity as a company, as a data team, that allows us to think about automation and machine learning.
Awesome. What a journey you've been on, and who knows where to next.
I mean, it's ongoing. Things change every day. So that's the exciting bit of working in data, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And before we close out, I know a few people might be curious, the medals.
Oh, this is just like participation medals, like I like running and like half marathons, 10Ks, couple of marathons there. Yeah, we had them in one box, and we thought, you know what, it looks nice, so much color and whatnot, so we just hung them in there.
Definitely love it, and I know some people will be curious. But that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for your time and your rich insights, Dani. To the listeners, drop your questions and feedback as always. We'll pick some out for future pods. Don't forget to like and share to reach as many people as possible. But from today, it's bye from me and Dani. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Matt. It was a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you on. Ciao for now.